All right, let's talk about real estate. What is transpiring in the real estate world? For many of you, you may have read the recent March update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a number of articles and some of the stats that we go over on a consistent basis here at Peak Realty to hopefully give you a glimmer as to what's going on out there. So just bear with me. I'm going to share the screen here. Um, there we go. Okay, so as you can see in the most recent update from the Waterloo Regional Area Real Estate Board, we have indicated that the home prices appear to be inching up, and that's definitely the case. We've noticed over the year, and as I've talked about already, mortgage rates dropping has caused more and more buyers to be able to afford more, a little bit more comfortable with assuming a bit more of a mortgage, and I believe that's one of the big reasons as to why people are getting in back into the real estate market and buying homes, hence causing those prices to start to inch back up there. That and the realization that unfortunately, they are paying a lot in rent every single month. And if you look at over the course of a year, if you're paying $2,500, on a monthly basis, that's $30,000, and you really have nothing to show for it. And then, of course, on the flip side, as time goes on, those rents are most likely going to continue to go up based on at a minimum inflation. And if you do happen to be evicted by a landlord, it could go up a lot more significantly than that. Whereas the mortgages, as you're paying down that mortgage, depending on what kind of mortgage you have, assuming it's a fixed mortgage, the principal portion will increase and the interest you're paying will decrease over time. I'm going to be, again, bringing out a little video to kind of walk clients through the pros of renting versus buying. But there's what we have for the time being. Now, this is the report here, and as you can see, here's kind of our year-over-year average sales. What's quite interesting about this is that we find that our 2023 numbers are really quite close to our 2021 numbers. It depends in certain areas. Our condo prices are still showing quite a bit higher. And what I'll do is I'll post this information down below in my newsletter so you can kind of dive into it a little bit more carefully if you would like. One thing I really appreciate, just before I get into that, as many of you are aware, we just saw a massive spike, this time more or less last year, and we definitely did a significant drop off of that. But as you can see in the recent months with spring coming back around, and I believe, again, the mortgage rates starting to drop, at least on the fixed side, not so much the variable side, as the central bank has not dropped the rates at all, unfortunately. But the fixed side, it's helping clients a little bit there. For those of you that didn't get a chance, definitely check out the mortgage side. And I've gone and explained kind of how those payments, often it's not about what my purchase price is, but what's my monthly obligation. So definitely check into that. But looking at Peak Realty here, we do tend to monitor a number of different market places here. We got Durham, Grey Bruce, Guelph. So if you'd like to discuss any of the stats regarding any of these regions, by all means, reach out to me, and it'd be my pleasure to dive into that. I don't really have time to get into everything. And I do find often what's transpiring in one market is very similar to what's happening in others as far as percentage points. Of course, the sale prices are going to be different, but the percentages are going to be very similar to each other. Okay, so we're looking here. I'm really paying the most attention to what's been transpiring year to date. And as you can see, January, our low for the most part was back in December. Now, this particular chart is all property types. So this is inclusive of condos, townhouses, detached homes, semi-attached homes, just to give you a rough feel for where things are. And as you can see, December, we definitely saw the biggest drop. We were just under 700,000 for the average sale price across the region there. This is or across Kitchener-Waterloo, but Cambridge pretty much falls into same thing with Wilmot Township and Woolwich and North Dumfries too. Now, as you can see, we started to creep up there, and March we definitely started to see a little high, but April, and this is where it kind of diverges a little bit from our Waterloo Real Estate Board update. The update from the board is for the entire month. We tend to break it down, week by week as we go here, and so hence our April thus far is showing on the low side. But if you'll notice something else here, over on the right-hand side, we've got a section we call list to sale ratio, kind of highlighted there for you. What that is, assuming you have a list price of, say, 500,000, if you sold at exactly the list price, you're going to have 100% list to sale ratio, hence 500,000. If you sell above that, it's going to be a higher percentage. If you sell lower than that, lower. And so as you can see, back last year in 2021, we were selling our homes quite often for quite a bit above the list price. Of course, in many cases, we did also underlist these homes, which would explain, why we were selling them, at one point here up to 30% on average for the entire month, back to February of last year. But again, if we were underlisting by 100, 200, I saw as much as 500,000 underlist, so keep that in mind. That strategy stopped working as time went on. More and more people they were getting offers, they were going above list, but they just weren't going high enough, which to the disappointment of the sellers. So we started kind of getting away from that strategy, going to what I refer to often as a more traditional means of selling homes. We relist it and we try to sell it in around the list price. So as you can see, we've been doing a little both strategies, the real estate agents on the whole, but definitely our percentages have been dropping recently to the point that actually around November, December, our average sale prices were coming in, more or less 1% under the list price. Again, keep in mind, every situation is different, and I'm definitely having to advise clients as to where homes are listed and what the strategies are. But once again, we're starting to see those creep up. So that April to date, we're actually showing thus far a 5.3% above list price average sale price in the area, which tells me that really we're getting back to that old strategy of underselling homes. But on the flip side, I'm also showing a drop in the sale price. So talking over with my colleagues and whatnot there, the sentiment amongst us is that many of the homes that are listed in the lower price ranges are doing exceptionally well. I've been hearing about offers at 21, 15, 26. They're doing quite well, and hence they're going above list price. On the flip side, our higher priced homes, there's just not as many people looking to buy those homes. Perhaps I suspect a big part of it is affordability, and it's also a needs versus desire or want situation. And I think that's part of the equation here too. As I mentioned earlier, people that are renting are throwing out a lot of money every single month. And it seems like it just keeps going higher and higher and higher. So they're starting to come to that realization we need to buy. And unfortunately, there's a lot of them. So they're all competing for that same group of homes. And being that they're renters, they don't typically have a lot of money down. So they're often, dealing with homes anywhere from 400,000, 300,000 to, let's say, 800,000. Once we start getting into the million, 1.2, 1.4, now we're dealing with typically people that have some equity from other homes, and there's just a little bit less competition there. Again, I'm still hearing about situations. I just heard one the other day, listed 1.5 million, getting a ton of action. That being said, it's probably more like a $1.8 million home. So please keep this in mind. Always good to reach out to me, and I can give you a perspective on what's going on there. But anyways, hopefully that's helpful as you ascertain where valuation's going. Yes, we're seeing the values dropping, but it's just most likely we're selling more of our lower priced homes, which is why we're showing that percentage point higher there. Days on market, they are selling quicker, which is kind of nice. We're starting to see that start to drop off. And as you can see, DOM, days on market. So around November, December, it was getting quite high, but we're back down to around 25 days on average, which is quite nice to see here. And if you go on to more of a weekly analysis, there's kind of our breakdown. As I said, this is a bit of a drop there, which is a bit of a surprise for April. April, we're definitely on the downside. Just to give you a sense for what's going on out there, what I've done is I've actually gone into the system to show you two scenarios. So first, I've gone ahead and listed or indicated here all the listings from the lowest list price in the last few weeks, and just to give you a sense. And if over here on the right you'll see, or sorry, on my left, what's called P or pending. That means that the house is sold. It's a firm deal. The CA means canceled. And as you can see in our lower price ranges, as I'm scrolling here, very few are canceled, or in this case they've expired the listing, or some kind of times they suspended. But the vast majority are selling, and as you can see, often selling above the list price. I'm not going to go through these all in detail. By all means, if you're in a position where you like to buy a home or want to get a bit more of a sense for where things stand, reach out to me, because there's just so much material to review. In this situation that I've gone ahead and looked at, I'm just looking at the freeholds, left out the condos, but by all means, we can definitely dive into that. So as we review things here, going into the higher price ranges, as you can see at the end of this page, I'm at 675, and we're still doing quite well. Lots of homes selling, most of them, but you start to see a little bit more cancellations creeping in as we get closer to that $800,000 range. Okay, and now we're going into the 800,000 plus. Again, lots of pendings, mid eights, high eights, But again, as I get into the high eights, I'm seeing a little bit more, cancellations and expulsions. And it's a case too that sometimes, they may have had offers, just the offers weren't to the expectations of the sellers, and the sellers, for whatever reason, maybe not need to sell. If they get the price that they're looking for, they will sell, but otherwise, they're quite willing to, just see how things play out there. As we get into the $1 million range, you start to see that the cancellations really start to pick up a lot more. We're looking at this point, I would say close to 50% are just not selling. And, I'm going up to 1.6 because, again, we don't have as many homes at those price ranges. Now, another way to look at things is just looking at how long they've been on the market. So in this situation here, we've got an area called DOM, days on market. And what I'm looking at here is, what are our list prices? Some of these are lower, but the vast majority of them that have been sitting, so days on market or longer, we're in the $1 million range, okay? But as I flip into the lower price range, or sort of less days on market, you start to see the prices start to drop. So initially, I've got a lot of stuff just kind of sitting there, whatever. I'm just going to kind of jump ahead to the next four pages here. So these are on the market 6 days or less. Now, keep in mind, one of the strategies is to hold off offers for a week. So that doesn't mean the house is not selling. It's just that most likely it's not come up to offer date. Okay, and at this point in time, we have a lot more houses that are just, at this point about to sell. So again, good to look at the actual sales, see what's going on there. And yeah, the only other thing I would like to kind of mention to you guys is another sheet. As we look at, our home selling, above list, below list, whatever's going on there, we do have like a weekly report that we also go over. I'm going to share with you real quickly here. And again, this does change every week, but I do find it quite enlightening. Okay. So currently, as of this week, and this is a weekly report, we have 532 listings, and so active last week, 509. So we're getting a few more listings. Makes sense. This time of year, we have more and more homes come on the market. And last year, this time we were at 520. So very much in line with the same number of listings out there. However, more interesting is what's been selling. So over the last 7 days, we've had 155 listings uploaded in the last few days, up from 108 again. But last year we were doing 228. So we are definitely seeing less homes selling than what we had in the past. One thing we want to pay attention to is, as I indicated, are they selling above list price? So in this situation here, we've got 8 that sold at list price, 42 below list price, so about 35% of what was sold, and then 70 sold, or 58% sold above list price. Again, very interesting. Last year, this time, 92% of all of our listings actually sold above list price. So we are seeing that creep up, but not nearly as drastic as what it was last year. Done a little below list price, so about 41% or 42% have sold below the list price there, and we've got a kind of a breakdown of the what's been selling price wise. Very interesting here. We had one in the last week, so 200,000 above list. Obviously, that's a rarity, not nearly as common. Mind you, if I would have shown the same charts last year, I probably would have had probably 15, 20 for the week. Like, it was quite crazy this time last year. And then, between 150 and 200,000, 100 to 150, 15, and then between 50 and 127. So be cognizant of the fact that people are under listing homes. We don't want to waste anybody's time. Again, that's where you really want to have a professional that has access to the data, can kind of walk you through the process there. And then, as you can see, sold at less than 20,000 over that list price, we got about 9, within this range here. Okay, but keep in mind we had 35% sold below list price. So houses are selling all over the place. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to email me, text me, or give me a call. It's always good to hear from my past clients. If you have anybody that's been contemplating buying a home, have them give me a call. If they're looking at renting, the rental market, we are really taking off. It seems like more and more people are opting to have agents take care of that. So if you need any assistance in either finding a rental or getting tenants in your place, by all means, reach out to me. It'd be my pleasure to assist in that regard. And perhaps always a good idea to kind of review the mortgage options and see what can you get. Does it make sense, rent versus own? Sometimes you might be able to get a bit more home on the rent side, but keep in mind at the long-term plan. I find a lot of tenants, say, oh, I'm only going to rent for a year or two, but in the long run, I'm going to get myself a home. And that 1 or 2 years, I've seen it numerous times, turns into 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And part of the problem is the home prices keep going up. What I would recommend typically is to take the money that you plan on saving and instead of putting that towards. So if you know that you're going to be paying $2,500 in rent and you're going to be perhaps putting aside $500 or $1,000 into savings towards buying that future home, it may make sense just to go ahead and buy that home now so that you don't have to worry about the home going up in value. Because keep in mind, a home goes up, even say 4% on a $500,000 home, that's $20,000 growth in the value of the home. So just to even stay at par, you have to save up $20,000, let alone reducing the mortgage. That's been a real problem for a lot of people. But again, give me a call. I can walk you through that whole process there. Or if you have friends, family, coworkers, again, it'd be my pleasure to assist them. All right, have yourself a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Wishing you all the best. Have a very enjoyable spring.